My name is Roger Porter. I'm in the English department here at Laney College, and I want to welcome you all to Mental Health in the Hood 5. So a few years ago, I, along with therapist Lisa Sawadogo, started this event because we were seeing students who are dealing with a lot of trauma, and at times we were overwhelmed. So we wanted to create a platform to address these issues in a very public way and offer healing through the power of testimony, with the ultimate goal being to erase the stigma associated with mental health that is so prevalent in the communities that our students come from. In the past, we have dealt with issues such as homelessness, erasing the stigma, dealing with trauma, suicide awareness, and tonight we're going to have a discussion around how being separated from your biological family by way of being adopted or being raised in the foster care system negatively impacts one's mental health. Now, it was difficult to find concrete statistical data connecting mental health disorder with being adopted, but according to the U.S. National Library of Medicine and the National Institute of Health, being adopted doubled the odds of having contact with mental health professionals. And according to the Psychiatric Times, children who are adopted may be at elevated risk for mental health disorders such as attention deficit hyperactivity, oppositional defiance, major depression, and separation anxiety disorders, according to a wide body of research. On the other hand, it was not nearly as difficult to find statistical data for foster youth, and the numbers were astounding. According to BeyondEmancipation.org, up to 50% of foster youth will experience homelessness at some point after leaving the system. Over 69% of youth leaving care become involved in the criminal justice system. 47% of youth leaving foster care, aging out, are unable to obtain and maintain employment. According to PromisesToKids.org, at least 21% of foster youth in California experience 5 or more placements. Many young children who enter the foster care system are further traumatized as they are placed in a different home than their brother or sister. Only 55% of former foster youth will attend college, and of that, only 8% will graduate. 60% of girls become pregnant by the age of 19. After leaving the foster care system, 40% of girls will have a second child by age 21. If those numbers have you down, then the people I'm about to introduce should inspire you, because given those painful statistics, they have been able to survive and are currently living very productive lives. So first we have this young lady who is a child welfare worker for Alameda County Children and Family Services. She started the support group for women Cultivating Joy in 2018. She's a proud Laney alum who in 2017 earned her MSW in social welfare from UC Berkeley. She was also a foster child who was placed in over 10 group homes. Her longest placement was 3 years. Please welcome Miss Mara Coleman.
Good evening, everyone. Can y'all hear me okay? All right. How y'all doing? Thank you for having me. I don't know why I have nerves, because this is just community. I don't know what it is. I was saying earlier, I think it's because it's a new moon in Scorpio right now. I'm just in my feelings. I don't know. But thanks for having me. So as Roger stated, and thank you for welcoming me, I am a child welfare worker with Alameda County Children and Family Services. And what that means is that I am a case manager for youth who have not been adopted or have had successful reunifications with biological parents or relatives who are just growing up in the foster care system here in Alameda County. So what I offer is support services through case management. I help young folks transition into adulthood. I help them identify goals. I help them, make sure that they have important things like their vital records, their social security card and birth certificate and things like that we take for granted that oftentimes get, lost in the system because they're changing placement so often. So that's what I do professionally, day to day, to pay the bills. In addition to that, I also offer support groups for women, for Black women here in Oakland, and it's under the name Cultivating Joy. And what we do is we get together, we create vision boards, we do some chanting, we do some manifesting, visioning exercises, things like that. And I call it art therapy, but I have to, I know therapy is a protected word, so I'm not a therapist, but it's therapy because it's therapeutic. But anyway, that's just a little bit about me.
For sure. So absolutely. So I'm gonna introduce the rest of the panelists. Shout out Joy. So sitting to the left of her, ladies and gentlemen, we have a brilliant human being, a wonderful mother who was also she was adopted when she was very young, and her name is Miss Ryan Yarborough. Miss Ryan Yarborough, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. And this gentleman sitting to the left of her is currently a Laney College student who grew up, like Joy, grew up in foster care and was placed in several group homes as a young man, one of which he escaped and at one point was a fugitive of the law. He is now an excellent student here at Laney and plans to transfer to either Howard University or Morehouse. Please welcome Mr. Terrence Williams. And then I was going to say the last, but we're going to have another panelist going to walk down those stairs and just sit down. His name is Kevin, but just be cool, just act natural when he comes, okay? Okay, but anyway, so we have this gentleman sitting to the left of Terrence who has dedicated his life to assisting foster youth. He graduated from Skyline High School in Oakland, California. He went to Mara College, earned a BA degree in communications from St. Mary's College of California, worked as a mental health counselor and mental health resources specialist for 8 years at various group homes and mental health facilities in the East Bay. Currently, he is serving as the project manager for the Next Up program at Laney College, because we do have resources here, y'all, which is a categorical program that is specifically designed to serve current and former foster youth. Please welcome Mr. Feke Loalti. Yes. Okay, so I want this discussion to be as interactive as possible. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit them up with like some questions first, get the conversation started. What you all can do is submit questions to the board, and every now and then I will be getting questions from the board, from Padlet there. You can submit them anonymously, or you can attach your name to it. It is totally up to you. All right, so this question is for people that can respond. What caused you to be in foster care or adopted? Like, what was going on with your parents' situation? We can go down the line. Who you can start? You want to start? You can start, Ryan.
From San Diego County. My mom was doing drugs while she was pregnant with me, and the county took me away. That caused me to be in several different foster homes until I was about 18 months, where I was adopted by the family that I'm with today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sure. For me, it was because my mother, she passed away when I was 9 years old. And I did have family members that took me in after my mother passed, like my aunts and uncle. But I was like a bad kid just off the surface of me losing my mother at a young age. So that's how I ended up being into the foster care system, because I was really, really bad to where they really couldn't handle me or control me. So they decided to send me to the foster care system.
And,
we're gonna shift up and shift back. So I entered the foster care when I was 6 because my mom also suffered from drug addiction.
Okay, cool. Kev is here. Kev, the question, I'm gonna let you think about the question, but the question is, what caused you to be what caused you to be adopted? What was going on with your parents' situation? While you think about an answer to that, let me take some questions from the board. Someone asked, where can you get the statistics from? And I shouted out those websites. There's the Psychiatric Times, the U.S. National Library of Medicine, and the National Institute of Health, and promisestokids.org, and the other one was, beyondemancipation.org. Okay, and someone asked, anyone here from the foster care system? And there are 2 people here from the foster care system. That is Joy and that is Terrence. And then Kevin and Ryan were adopted. Okay, Kevin, adopted. You want to slide the mic down to Kev?
Sorry about being late. I actually left work at 4 o'clock, coming from Sacramento, so the commute was rough, but it's real. I'm here. But my story's a little different. I was adopted at 6 months old, so when I got a chance to meet my biological mom and learn exactly what was going on, at the time, pretty much when my parents ended up, having me, my mom was 17, my dad was 18. My dad was pretty much in the streets, selling dope, selling pretty much anything he had going on. My mom had a lot going on. She was battling depression pretty much her whole life, and her mother decided that she wasn't fit to be a mother at the time, so she pretty much made the decision for her, and she gave me up. I was then taken into a family at 6 months old, and I pretty much had to live with the whole idea of being accepted and being happy with, because I knew there were so many kids out there that didn't have a family, so I had to pretty much just blend in and act like everything was okay, and I never really accepted. Even to this day, I'm 36 years old, and I'm still dealing with the fact that she looked at me and I wasn't good enough. So it's something I deal with every single day. It's not something that ever goes away, but that's pretty much, my tidbit, my story, how I got into the adoption world.
Have you ever, and this is for both of you, have you ever met or for anyone that can answer, but have you ever met your biological parents? And how is that? Like, do you feel torn between your biological parents and your foster parents? How are you able to balance that?
That's I got an opportunity at 16 to meet my biological mom. 3 years after my adoptive parents' divorce, I was pretty much all over the place. Went on a rigorous tear for about 3 years, and my adoptive mom felt like it was a good idea if I reach out to my adoptive parents, pretty much try to fill this void of gap that I was feeling with. But I never got counseling. I should have got counseling ahead of time. I never took the time to really think about how much emotion was going to come with me, my biological mom. Even to this day, we barely can have the relationship that I ideally want to have, because I am harboring old issues and feeling like what I needed from her even then, and she can't give it to me even now. So I got a chance to meet both of my parents. So it's difficult balancing the two. At the time, I had to take on my biological dad problems, my adoptive dad problems, my biological mom problem. I literally had 4 parents at a time taking care of all their problems. It's rough, because you never can give each one that much attention. Somebody's gonna always feel left out. So it's a blessing, but it's hard. It's tough.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way. I met my biological family when I was in high school. My biological sister actually found me. She drove all the way up from San Diego, came to my high school, pulled me out of class, and was like, "Hey, I'm here." Like, we had talked previously before, but when she came, it was so surreal, like this is a piece of me. And I just remember that feeling, being just so shocked and so just shocked about it all. I met my biological mom not too long after that. What made me not mad at her, honestly, what helped me not be mad at her was the fact that she was honest about everything. She didn't sugarcoat nothing. She was like, this is where I was at with my life, when I was pregnant with you. She was drug addicted for at least 30 years. She lived a hard life. But it's hard to talk to my adoptive mom about my biological mom, even though they went to high school together. So it's crazy, it's just crazy how everything works out. But my adoptive mom gets really in her feelings about the situation. Like, she doesn't like answering certain questions, or if she does, she kind of dances around it. It's weird, but yeah.
Have either of you, do you have a relationship with your biological parents, Joy?
Yeah, so I don't have an adoption story. My story is a foster care.
We're gonna
And
get
so
to that.
although, I just want to, speak to that. And so I had a relationship with my mom throughout foster care. I mean, there were periods of time where I didn't spend birthdays or holidays with her, but I always knew where she was. She knew where I was. And even, I mean, I had a reunification where I was no longer in foster care, reunified with my mom, then went back into foster care. So, and even still to this day, like I have a relationship with my father because he's still living. My mom is no longer living, but yeah, so.
Okay, so I have some basic questions for myself and maybe the people out there that want to know. I mentioned a group home before. What is supposed to be the function of a group home? Like what is a group home? Do they work? What was the group home experience like for you, for anyone that can respond to that?
In my definition, a group home is, I don't want to be negative, but in my eyes, a group home is, they say it's designed, to help foster youth and things, transition into this world, kind of have that family feel. But in my eyes, like a group home is basically like a pipeline to jail, honestly. Being in a group home, you are with people you don't know. You sleep in a room with people you don't know. You got staff telling you when you can eat, when you can take a shower. It kind of sounds like jail, right? A little bit. So in my eyes, that's what because in our reality, the group home didn't do anything for me. Like, I still did what I wanted to. I came in when I wanted to. I went to school when I wanted to. It was nobody there to be like, are you really going to school? There was nobody there to go up there and be like, let's check your grades. It was whatever I came and said, that's whatever. And of course, group homes get money per kid. So in my eyes, that's all they were really kind of there for, just to collect their checks. And that was it. I didn't feel no support in group homes that I went to. I felt more support in a foster home, actually with a real family, than I did at a group home. And that's kind of surprising because you have these things at group home like counselors and resources and stuff like that. But my time in various group homes, I didn't receive anything as far as those services.
Real fast, what led to you running away?
I went to a lot of group homes, and just me being like, my mom was the only person I knew. So from me coming into this world until 9 years old, when she passed, that was the only person that I knew. My father, he'd been in and out of jail my whole life. He's still in and out of jail my adult life. So that was the only person I knew, honestly. So me going to these different group homes and stuff like that, I didn't feel like that was, my mom was the only person I knew. So it was like no point in me being in these group homes because I just didn't feel like, I felt invisible. I felt like nobody cared and stuff like that. So that's what led me to running away, honestly. I was like, I'll do better on my own, basically. Even I ended up being in the foster care system from 14 to 18 years old. But at 14, when I ran away and stuff like that, I was like, I'll do better on my own than in this group home where I'm constantly have to fight people every day, constantly have to deal with staff talking to you crazy because you are a child at the end of the day. So yeah, I feel like me running away will do better.
Now, when you initially told me the story, I was not aware that for someone that runs away from a group home, like criminal charges are immediately filed. Like it's like you're escaped from prison, basically, or something like that.
They call it AWOL.
Right.
AWOL. Like military, basically. When you run away from a group home without telling anybody, contacting, whatever, if you're not emancipated, they consider that AWOL. So yeah, when I ran away from a group home, I was literally on the run for 2 years. So 2 years of my life, I couldn't go to school, which led me to drop out of high school and stuff like that. I couldn't go to school. As soon as I went to school, the police was gonna come get me, take me to jail, and then take me right back to another group home, and that was something that I wasn't willing to go through at that time.
Joy, what was your experience like?
Yeah, so I want to echo like everything that you said. So group homes are definitely like little institutions that house kids. Oftentimes, kids that are placed in group homes are the kids who the system says, exhibit the most aggressive behaviors. They're combative, they're resistant, all these words that they use to describe youth who don't want to cooperate. And I definitely, I lived in group homes in East Oakland. Group homes right now are actually on what the state is calling a moratorium, just meaning they're trying to phase out group homes because for so long, so many youth growing up in them have told, people they don't work, right? They make things worse for us. Outcomes are worse for people that go to group homes. When I was in group homes, we had homes that were like notorious. I won't name them, but like a group home off of Seminary. There was one off Havens Court that were notorious for housing girls who had been sexually exploited, right? And so because folks in the community got wind of that, and they're like, okay, this is where they keep, girls that are prostituting, although there are no child prostitutes, right? So there would even be like Johns or pimps who would even like park outside down the block in the community waiting for girls that were living in this group home, because this group home, developed a name for housing those type of girls. And oftentimes in group homes growing up, you had staff who were not skilled at what they did. They weren't clinical. A lot of them didn't have degrees. I remember being a student at Merritt College and working in a group home, getting paid $10 an hour. So, just an example of who they would hire to work with these kids that are traumatized, right? So you'd have all these kids living in a home, and it was like being in prison because they had the point system. I remember, not doing a chore. Okay, we're deducting points. We're taking away your privilege. We're taking away your TV privilege. You got to be in your room, stuff like that. I also was AWOL from a group home. I remember going to visit my mom in Santa Rita jail and being detained by police. Wow. I was 18, and they detained me. And I was like, wait, what's going on? They said, you have a warrant out, And I'm like, for what? And I'm like, they told me, oh, you were AWOL. Your worker put out a report that you were AWOL, so we have to detain you. And then they had to make some calls and determine, okay, we can let her go. And so, like, things like that happen. But yeah, group homes are not helpful. And so that's why the state right now is going through this process. There was a bill that was called the Continuum of Care Reform, CCR, and so group homes are being phased out. But yeah, group homes are really traumatic for anyone to grow up in, yeah.
Feke, your experience as a social worker, have you seen, do group homes work more often than not, or for the most part that they don't work? What's your experience as far as the students that you see that have gone through the group home system?
Well, I think it's important that we give the group homes some context. So for those of you in the room who are not aware of what group homes are, there are different levels that exist within our community. So there's a level 14, which is the highest level of care. And if you can't remain safe within a level 14 program, then essentially you're eligible to go to juvenile hall or jail. And so then below level 14, there's like a level 12, there's a level 10, and then the degrees keep getting lower and lower. The lower the level of group home, the more privileges that you have. But unfortunately, a lot of group homes don't operate based on the level system that they function at. And so just to address some of the issues, I think me being on the panel today, I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. And so I get to see a lot of this stuff firsthand. And I want people in the room to know that what's being shared in this room is real life. This is not narrative. This is not novelty. This is real life. And so a lot of times we read things or we hear in society narratives about current or former foster youth or people that have been formerly incarcerated. And so I'm here to tell you that the stories that are being shared today are not only relevant, but they're real and they're raw. And because there's a practical side that happens, and this is the practice, right? And so for those of us who've never been on that side of the fence, we only know the theory. And so I want to address that just to give you guys all context. And then back to the initial question about the purpose of a group home. During my time as a mental health counselor or a mental health resource specialist, my number one priority was to, one, provide some type of effort for rehabilitation for the client. And based on the level system, the higher you go up, the more points you accumulate, the faster you can get out of the group home. And unfortunately, a lot of youth who are housed in these places, they have mental health challenges. There are barriers. And so sometimes the barriers get so overwhelming that you could only put so much air in a balloon. And when that balloon pops, that's when everything just comes trickling back down. And so, sometimes the rehabilitation works and sometimes it doesn't. And it all depends on the rapport that you build with people that are housed in these group homes.
Feke, do you think that the system is broken? Do you think the group homes need to go, or is there potential?
I mean, I think the state of California is already in the process of phasing out the group homes. I worked in a level 14 group home for 4 years, and we use crisis communication to de-escalate clients who are feeling overwhelmed, who are experiencing generalized anxiety, trauma, separation anxiety, things that are real to them but are foreign to us. And sometimes the crisis communication doesn't work, and so the next way of supporting, this is what they call support, is you have to physically restrain them. And so within these group homes, if you've never been in one, let me just give you some context. There's these rooms that are specially built within these group homes, more specific to level 14, that provide safety, and it's a padded room. And sometimes we have to physically restrain young people and place them into these rooms, and they can stay in there for hours with no food, no drink, until they've de-escalated. And so, there's only so much that you can do, and as a staff, when you've reached your limit, the next thing to do is to call 911, and that's when we get law enforcement involved, which sort of perpetuates what happens now with not only current and former foster youth, but those who have been formerly incarcerated. We see law enforcement, and it's a red flag. We're in trouble, right? And so we get young people who've been through this experience for years, and now they're in their 20s and then their 30s, and they're in college, and when they see law enforcement, it's a red flag.
So, question from an anonymous person, and at some point I want to actually, if someone has a question but they don't feel like submitting it there, I want to hear someone's voice, if that's all right. But someone said, as an educator here at community college, if you all can think back to when you were students, some of you are, some of you aren't, what's most important for us to know about serving you? What's helpful? What's harmful in terms of education? And anyone on the panel can answer that.
Let me go ahead and answer first, because I meet one-on-one with a lot of foster youth or those who have experienced the foster care system. I think the number one thing that all foster youth want to feel when they come to see you is they want to know that you care, that you love them genuinely, that you want to know their story, and you want to help them overcome whatever barriers are in their way. I think that's the most important thing to building rapport with those who have experienced the foster care system, is there are no hidden agendas, but rather you're there to support them and their academic success, whether it's through the K through 12 system or post-secondary education.
Yeah, Feke basically said what I wanted to say. He said it very well. That's it, just the support. That's what, as an educator, that's what you guys could definitely do, just the support factor. That's how I feel as well.
Okay.
And I would say the same thing about like the rapport building and just like making sure that you have a connection before you offer correction. So a lot of times when you're dealing with a foster youth who is a student, there's all kind of challenges that student is facing outside of just, submitting your paper, right, and meeting your deadline. And so it's just really important that you actually like take the time to get to know them. And I mean, I know that educators have lots of different students and their own families and everything, but before you, try to, correct someone, right, just make sure that you have a connection with them so that it goes over well. Because a lot of times, like foster youth often feel like they come up in a system that is punitive, right? Where they're like feeling like they're always being punished. So the last thing they need is to feel shamed or blamed or, feel like they are failing. And it's okay to be honest and offer like, honesty, but like have some compassion with that. I think that's really important.
Before I graduated College of Alameda, I was a part of their Next Step program, and what that did was they supported you with grants and transportation if you needed it, tutors if you needed it, and it was pretty cool because you got to meet other people within the college that was also in the same shoes that you were in, so you got to meet, more people.
Cool. So someone wanted to know, I'm going to remix this question so it's not so invasive, but does anyone feel comfortable sharing any form of abuse that you may have experienced growing up in an adoptive household or foster care or anything? Does anyone feel comfortable sharing any form of abuse that you have experienced?
I wasn't personally abused, but I know that one of the foster homes that I was in before I was adopted, the lady was apparently locking kids in the closets, and she was burning them and like doing all kind of crazy stuff. So,
Where was this? What? I'm not aware of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before what? Say it again.
Before I was adopted.
How old were you when you were adopted?
When I was adopted, I was 18 months.
Okay.
So I was in one of the foster homes when all this stuff was going down. Apparently, of course she was arrested and the kids were taken away, but yeah, it was really, really unsafe.
This question really kind of resonates with me. Not that I have been abused in any type of way, sexually or physically, but at the same time that I was going through the foster care system, I had a good friend that was going through the foster care system as well. And we just so happened to be in the same company of group homes, except I was in the level 12 group home and he was in the level 14 group home. And he was being sexually assaulted by the staff members at that group home. And we were both like 14 years old at this time. I had went to like elementary school with him. We played on pee-wees together and things like that. Even played at the park together numerous times. Him being sexually abused though at the group homes, it led him to committing suicide at 16 years old. So I lost one of my good friends at 16 years old due to sexual abuse. And it still kind of sits with me a little bit because, like, I wish there was something that I could have did to help him possibly, or I just wish I would have known something, but at that time I was a kid myself, so I didn't really know how to deal with things like that, So, yeah, that question really resonates with me, and I think about my friend all the time, for sure.
All right, for sure. So the statistics say that you all are not supposed to be here right now with degrees and good grades and a positive outlook on life. What have you all done to beat the odds? Why you make that face?
Well,
You are beating the odds.
I feel like for personally, I was a terrible student, right? Even high school, community college, grad school, just terrible. But the thing that I feel like,
Hold it.
no,
How you
seriously,
get into Berkeley? What?
terrible student. But I was persistent. That's the thing, right? I really, clung to the mantra, C's get degrees, right? And even, in grad school, you definitely couldn't get C's, but I was just really persistent. I just had really high expectations for myself. And then also for me, I feel like I was one of those complacent career student type, because it's just I don't want to get a job right now, so I'm going to stay in school for another 5, 6, 7 years, right? Because a 9 to 5 is brutal. But just I feel like that's the thing that kept me to be just having high expectations for myself, because there were times where people completely counted me out. I did not graduate high school. I got a GED, and then years later I went to community college, and I remember enrolling in college and taking everything from dance, tennis, religious studies. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I figured it out. And I just feel I don't know, just I know it's hard to do when society puts so much pressure on you and other people may be telling you that you cannot amount to anything, but I truly do believe that what you're capable of, right? And it just spend some time just trying to I don't know, just figuring that out and just reflecting on what you really want to do. But yeah.
It's so funny that you said that because I was the same exact way. I was put on Ritalin, I was doing Concerta, like I had, you know, because I had ADHD really bad. And it was hard for me to focus in class. But yeah, I wasn't a great student either. But I knew I had to pass or you wasn't gonna graduate. And so I would do the bare minimum. But it's weird because I love school. I love learning, but I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, that's exactly what it is, just pushing yourself forward, knowing that you want to be something and that you are gonna be something. And of course, being a mom helps, you know, keep pushing me further and further because I want her to see that I'm trying to succeed and, you know, and help people. And I want her to see me pursuing my dreams and doing the best that I can. So when she grows up, she'll have a really good, you know, she'll be like, I saw my mommy do this, so I can do it too. I mean, even though she didn't go through the same thing, but yeah.
Again, like for me, on the opposite side of the spectrum, being a classified professional and walking through the journey or the pathway with a lot of these foster youth, I think number one is it requires a lot of high touch, meaning that if you've ever been to Nordstrom's and you walk in and you feel like 3 people just attack you, that's called high touch customer service. And so what we try to do within our program is provide that high-touch customer service to all of our students that come in, whether they've been through the foster care system or if they've been formerly incarcerated. An interesting fact, right now, within our foster youth learning community, more than 50% are formerly incarcerated, which means that we can't do this work alone, so we have to leverage other resources that are available on our campus. This is why the power of partnership comes in, and working with the ROC program, Restoring Our Communities initiative, has been a huge blessing in disguise in how we serve foster youth and really allowing us to not only push the envelope, but allow additional support services and other pathways for them to be successful. DSPS is another program that we've collaborated with. Many of our foster youth that go through the system or who have been system impacted haven't been diagnosed by a clinician or a medical professional. And so the DSPS program has allowed us to work with them so that students who do have a mental health issue or a barrier or challenges that they're experiencing in the classroom, we can decrease their units and still be eligible for the core services through the foster youth learning community, but also the benefits of financial aid.
Okay. Kev, you shining, man. You shining. How you shining so bright, man? How you beat the odds like that?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm 22. I'm 22 failed suicide attempts. I've been in 4 horrible car accidents. I'm on grace, man. Like I'm defying odds because I got a purpose to change this world, and everything about me now, I do now is to do something to give back. So I don't know how I'm doing it. Some days I wake up and I just try to figure it out, man, just like everybody else. But every second that I get is on grace, man. That's it.
Hey, man, I'm glad you're here.
I appreciate it.
I want you to know that. Like, not just here in the room, but here.
Yeah.
Terrence, what's up, man?
I mean, honestly, for me, I still got a long ways to go. This is just the first step for me. I want to go to Morehouse after this. But I feel like how I'm beating the odds is definitely, like Kev said, God first, for sure. I done been in a lot of situations and a lot of places where I'm not really supposed to be here. I had a lot of people tell me in my own family that they didn't think I was going to make it to see 18, let alone 21. So I feel like just seeing the potential in myself, that's why I'm here, like beating the odds, seeing the potential in myself. I always have people tell me that, you know, they see potential in me and I'm smart and I have the power to do a lot of good things, but I didn't see that potential in myself. Every day I looked in the mirror, I didn't see that. Maybe because of the situation I was in, maybe because I didn't have a father or my mother passed away and stuff like that. But once I started seeing the potential in myself, it led me to actually going back to school. Like Joy said, I got my GED because I did drop out at the 10th grade. Went back, got my GED, and I instantly enrolled here at Laney College, and I'm finishing up my first year here. So, yeah, definitely.
Can I, what is it? Say it again. What's the GPA? What's the GPA? 3.5. Shining out here, wait. Does anyone, you don't feel like typing and logging in, but you want to use your voice to ask a question to one of the panelists? Is there anyone that has a question that you want to ask? How, like, as far as going, like, all the trauma, be it just emotional trauma, bipolar, schizophrenia, you've been diagnosed with something, how hard is it to go through that and then adjust to an academic environment? Like, I guess, what is that transition like?
I think it's a process. Like, I think that, like, for me, like, I can only speak for me, like, I have a couple different diagnoses, right? And, like, being in school definitely adds another layer of pressure and stress. And I think that it's been helpful for me to, like, take medication. It's also been helpful for me, to stop medication too when I needed to. And also, like, therapy has been really helpful. Support groups have been really helpful. Like, making sure that I'm doing that work to manage it, and, like, making sure I'm getting rest and, like, eating food. Like, that's been really helpful. But I think it's a process, and, like, everybody's journey is different, right? And I know that, like, we've all heard that before, and it's, like, not a linear process. Like, there are going to be moments of, like, I don't want to liken it to relapse, but, like, where you're not at the top of your game, where you're not taking your medication like you should. But I mean, just keep going, like, keep trying, you know what I mean? But I think it's stressful, and I just don't have, like, a answer. But if y'all want to.
Yeah, like Joy said, it's kind of stressful, honestly. I mean, I've been diagnosed with depression before, so with depression, you kind of isolate yourself. So when I first got here at Laney, I didn't really like being in class. Not like that, but like that. One of my probably my favorite professor that I've had so far at Laney is Professor Porter. And I was, and in his class, if y'all took his class before, y'all know he do everything in groups, like everything. So I would be like, dang, Professor Porter, like, why we gotta be in groups? This is college. Like, I thought college was like an individualistic type of, society, but actually him doing that actually prepared me to keep going on and actually kind of fight that depression, if you guys know what I mean. I kind of, like, got out of that depression through group work and through support systems here, programs like Emoja and Rock and things like that. It really helped me kind of fight that depression and kind of, like, flourish in this academic setting.
Okay, for sure. Anyone else? Anyone wants to speak to that? All right, for sure. You good? Kevin's my old school homie, by the way. I got rapport with him. I don't want y'all to think I'm just picking on him. What's up, Nestor? Sir, yes.
I was going to ask, what keeps you going forward, or how do you overcome this stagnant kind of life? I know it's not easy going through.
What keeps you going forward? What keeps y'all going forward? Kim Blackwell says be specific.
Honestly, I have a passion for people. I love helping people, and I know the only way I will truly get to help people the way that I want to, which is, like, providing families with resources and just supporting people. I have to go back to school. I don't want to go back to school. I've been lagging on signing up for classes, but
We're here for you. We got you. Yeah. All right, anyone else? What keeps you pushing forward? What keeps you pushing forward?
So a lot that keeps me pushing forward. My kids keep me pushing forward. They stay on my nerves, but they keep me pushing forward. But most above all, my purpose. I've had the opportunity in the last couple years to figure out why I'm why I was here, like why I was born, why I was created. So I'm in the mental health world. If you don't really know my story, I'm a mental health advocate. Everything I do now is in the mental health world. I lose close to 1 million people a year worldwide. And I say I lose because these are my people. Depression, mental health doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a race. To me, these are my people, these are my individuals. I lose one every 40 seconds. This is very serious to me. That's what keeps me going, the fact that I honestly believe in the bottom of my heart that I can stop everything and we can get to a world without suicide. So however long it takes, whatever I gotta do, that's what keeps me motivated, and that's what keeps me pretty much doing everything I gotta do.
I think my answer is very similar to Kevin, but what keeps me going is something that I learned over the years working with foster youth is they all have a story to tell. And again, just going back to this notion of narrative versus what's circulating in society about you and what's really going on in your life, right? And so, again, today is about the power of storytelling. I have an opportunity to sit down every day with current and former foster youth who have a great story to tell. And I look forward every day to wake up, to come to Laney and hear that story. And it's powerful. And to look at me to where I am today, looking back 10, 15 years ago, I would have never thought that I would gain a new family. And foster youth across the state of California is my family. They are my family. And even though my parents came to the Americas in the late 50s from the Pacific Islands, and never in the 39 years of my life that I think I would gain another family. So I'm very much involved, not only in the foster youth stories, but a part of their family and their success.
What keeps me moving forward is that, like, honestly, I don't have a safety net. Like, I don't have anything to fall back on, so I don't have a choice, right? Like, and also, like, I'm 28 years old, and, like, I'm finally getting to a place where I, like, truly believe that, like, I deserve, like, health and happiness and stability. And the only option for me to get those things is for me to keep moving forward, is to keep, you know, just like setting expectations for myself and like doing the work. Yeah, because like I don't, you know, I don't have the option to like move in with parents, right? And or like relatives. Like I have to make it, or else I'm gonna be like homeless. And like I like to like be able to eat food and have clothes. Like, and that's just honest, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Someone says, someone said just recently I found a whole community of adoptees and former foster youth on Twitter. I also found some really supportive groups on Facebook, adult PLC adoptees and Black adoptees. Have you been in these groups? Anyone? Social media connections?
That was a really good statement. I never heard of those groups before. I don't have a Facebook, but I'm gonna definitely go check it out after this, for real. Nah, I do. I got Instagram and Snapchat, but no Facebook.
Facebook's for old people, right? There, right. There it is, yeah. You said, are there resources here on campus? What else do you think we could use, Feke, that we don't have right now? Or how could you be supported in a way that you aren't currently supported, maybe?
So I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to try not to be promoting my brand. So just to give you a little context, for the last 49 years, EOPS, which is a program that serves underrepresented communities or low income. EOPS stands for Extended Opportunity Programs and Services. This is for 49 years. This ain't 49 seconds ago. We're talking about 49 years. And over those 49 years, EOPS has evolved and created a program called the CARE program, which serves single parents on welfare. And through the CARE program, their foster youth initiatives became a serious discussion. And through EOPS, the Next Up program was born, which is a program that specifically targets current and former foster youth. So those are 3 programs right here on our campus that exist. Prior to Laney College getting funding from the state of California to provide services to current and former foster youth, Laney College partnered with Beyond Emancipation, which is here in the East Bay in Oakland, and they received the funding from the state of California through the Independent Living Skills Program, which is a program that's designed to support foster youth here in Alameda County. And initially, there was a program between EOPS and Beyond Emancipation called B2B. And B2B signifies bridge to bridge, which was a career readiness or maybe a summer bridge program. And it was only like a week long. Now think about it, something that was created between a partnership that only took a week long evolved into what you see now, an actual learning community that gets to sit on the shoulders of a program that's been here for 49 years. So not only do we have that, but I think some of us here on the panel have talked about the connections we've been able to make, such as leveraging the DSPS program and also ROCI, which is Restoring Our Communities initiatives. And these are programs that are like, they're not just programs, these are family, right? And we've seen that connection also happen with the Umoja Ubaka family too, right? And so you see the power of collaboration, not only in the state, but here in our own backyard at Laney College.
Okay, all right, for sure. Yes, sir? I was just about to read that. Yeah. Well, he says, you mean employment for foster youth? Correct. Right, yes. And the anonymous asked that same question. Said, you think you start hiring foster staff who have actually been in the foster care system? Could that help? I would say yes. I would say absolutely yes. To give that perspective, to speak to classes, all of those things could be very helpful. And also, I think people shine in a group and they let everyone know they're shining, but people struggle alone. And so to see someone that has experienced that and been through foster care, I think it would be uplifting for a lot of our students. Does anyone else want to speak to that possibility as far as?
No, that's a fact. You should have people that live those personal experiences, and those people should be in a position of power to help others. So yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
How do we do it, Joe?
I just want to add one thing. Let me be selfish, right? And I have every right to be selfish. So when Laney College received funding to support foster youth initiatives, and I became in this position to help facilitate the day-to-day operation, we had a vision, not only me, but folks that were at the table, we had a vision that once this program was up and running, we would only hire foster youth to give them a chance. And because I think a lot of them have been swept under the rug, or maybe they didn't feel like they had the potential, just because, you know, in this day and age, everything is a hookup. If you know somebody, you got a hookup, right? And so now foster youth know somebody here. So now they got a hookup, right? And so I think what we wanted to create as a program is to not only create that learning environment and how to scale up and build community, but hire them so that they can not only obtain the skills and capacities to be professionals here at the college, but they can use us as a springboard to go to a four-year university and also get their degrees and then be well-rounded citizens in our community. We hired. We're hiring. And I don't want to say that like just straight up that we're hiring at this very moment, but we're always looking for candidates to be a part of our learning community. Through our partnership with Beyond Emancipation, there's other programs that exist within Alameda County that offer employment services to foster youth. So if you don't get hired here at Laney College, we can provide an outlet for you to further the opportunities in the community.
Okay, all right, for sure. Has your experience as an adoptee, adult, or foster care, as an adoptee, adult, or foster care impacted your career choices?
Yes. So I knew I wanted to be a social worker when I was like 10. And so you know how like when you're a little kid, like when you're exposed to something or something that you see, you want to do it if it looks cool. And so like I was surrounded by social workers, and so I was like, I want to be a social worker. Because as a kid, like to me, like I saw them holding a lot of power because they had the authority to make decisions about my family and like where I could live. And so I wanted to have a say. And like as a kid who felt powerless and didn't have a say over where they could live and when they could see their parents and everything, it was just like, I want to make sure that I'm never in a position where I feel so powerless like that again. And I also want to like empower other folks who are going through that to feel like they have a voice. And so, and also because I had a lot of like crappy social workers, just to be honest, like they weren't really good. They didn't do their job in a way that was like empathetic, and I felt like I could do a better job having lived experience. Now that I am a child welfare worker, and I'm 28, and I'm going through this solar return. Okay, so we could talk about astrology all day, but I think that, you know, I don't think this is a forever job for me, because I always knew that it was a lot of work, but I think that like I'm in a place where I'm like wanting to be really like selfish with me now, and I don't want to give so much of myself. But like as a foster youth, like I started working with Alameda County when I was like 18. I got like a paid youth advocate position where I was like giving a lot of like like input on like policy recommendations, where I would like go up to like the state Capitol and like do testimonies and meet with legislators, doing all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to have a voice and advocate. But it's a lot of labor, and not just for like, just for like a foster youth, like having lived through the system and then having to want to come back and like, I used to have this idea, I want to change the system, and not so, like that's not necessarily what I want to do right now. Like I want to help, impact someone, but I think that there are other things to do, right? Instead of like working in this raggedy system that is broken, that is designed to function as it functions. But yeah, that's another conversation.
Now, really quickly though, Joy. Now, you not wanting to change the system anymore, is that because it's just too much, too overwhelming, or?
So the thing about it is, I don't want to change the system. Like I want to abolish the system. Like I want us to not even have to come in contact with this system. Like I don't want anyone in our community to work in it. I want us to just leave it, take our babies, right? Just and like rely on each other. Like I want us to rely on community, right? And so because the system is a system and it has to function. And so that is why like I offer support groups. I was speaking to that earlier when I was carried away on my introduction, but I offer support groups to Black women in Oakland, and we meet at Oak Stop on Saturdays.
Cultivating Joy.
And so we just talk about ways that we can heal, ways that we can get free, and it's not always so focused on trauma. Like in this system that I work with, we're always talking about trauma-informed care and how people are traumatized, which is true, but I also like to like not only meet people where they are, but like meet people where they dream, and like what do you want for yourself. Like let's talk about what's the highest vision you have for your life, even if you don't know it. Like we don't have to center your trauma, like we could center your healing, right? And so anyway, I say all of that because as a kid I saw social workers. I want to be a social worker. I'm a social worker, and I'm like, okay, there's other things that can be just as impactful and powerful. So yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Your experience, did your experience growing up and being adopted or foster care impact what you do right now?
I would say yes. Like I said earlier, I love working with people. I love helping people. I don't want to work in the system either, because I do, I understand that it's horrible right now, and that, but I do want to be able to connect families and single moms and homeless people to better resources. Yeah, I just want, because I feel like there's a lot of struggling going on, but it's not necessary because we have a lot of resources out there and people don't know about them, so I want to be able to connect them to them.